The advice and opinions expressed by Dr. Granpeesheh and her guests are meant solely as suggestion and should not be in any way construed as child-specific advice.
Dr. Doreen Granpeesheh is the
Dr. Doreen is an expert in autism.
Doreen Granpeesheh.
Dr. Granpeesheh.
Dr. Doreen Granpeesheh.
Dr. Doreen Granpeesheh is a visionary in the field of autism. Now you can ask her questions on Ask Dr. Doreen.
Good morning and happy Thanksgiving. And look who we have here. It's Ask Dr. Doreen, and we have Dr. Doreen with us. Good morning, Dr. Granpeesheh.
Good morning, Shannon. How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
Thank you for allowing me to work remotely today.
Listen, you get to do whatever you want. It's your playground, and we're just here supporting. So wonderful. And thank you for being willing to do the show. I know everybody's got a million things going on. We're just 2 days away from Thanksgiving here in the United States. Everybody is either shopping or cooking or baking or something. But we are doing a show today, and it is live. And I want to tell you, we didn't tell you before, Dr. Granpeesheh, but the topic is gratitude and grief.
Oh, lovely.
Because it's kind of a mixed bag this week. So,
Yes.
Want to say hi to everybody. If you're tuning in for the first time, this is Ask Dr. Doreen, and we are here with Dr. Doreen Granpeesheh. She is a true expert in the field of autism, been working in this field for over 45 years. It's just criminal to say it. Your skincare company does not appreciate me saying it because it would seem untrue. But she's been working in this field for a really long time with generosity and a heart. And I say this, and I don't want to get emotional, but I don't believe that there's anybody in this field who does a better job of perspective taking and considering the individuals on the spectrum, their thoughts, needs, feelings, and concerns, but also taking into consideration what the needs are of the family that loves that individual, the family and friends and significant others. So we're all deeply in gratitude for Dr. Granpeesheh and the work that she has been doing. Oh my gosh, don't even get me started. Okay, so, and our fabulous, talk about gratitude, our fabulous Chris Desmond, where would we be without Chris Desmond?
Oh my gosh.
Right?
I'm with you there. Yes.
I mean, seriously, a reason to get down on the floor and say thank you for Chris Desmond. But he's been showing you guys some of the different ways that you can connect. We are live. It is 2025, and it's 2 days before Thanksgiving, to give you a reference. I don't know what day that makes it. I guess it makes it the 25th.
Yes.
Okay, so we are live on Facebook, YouTube, and Twitter. You can be writing in. Of course, this will podcast and be available wherever you get your podcasts for free later on today. And just know that when you get it for free, it's a free download wherever you get your podcasts, but you are going to hear some advertisement throughout. That's our way of keeping the lights on. If that is not your way of listening, just go to glow.fm/autismlive. For $5 a month, you get literally everything we do at the Autism Network, including Ask Dr. Doreen, in your inbox, no ads, $5 a month. So not trying to take you to the cleaners. That's literally the cheapest we can possibly make it, and keep the lights on. So there you go. So shall we just dive in? And what would you like? We have some questions. You guys can be writing in right now, but we have some questions that came in before. Would you like a gratitude, a grief, or a question from Parker? I will let you.
Why don't we start with Parker?
Okay, let's start with Parker. It's a tough one. He says, Parker here, I have a question for you and Dr. Doreen. There is a major problem with parasocial relationships of celebrities and other people. It's very common among the autism community as well, stated by the convention fiasco about a stalker of a famous voice actor. The woman who's done the stalking is on the autism spectrum. I understand that you may not want to answer this question at all or right away, but I feel like it is a necessary question, especially with AI technology being the way it is. Are people doing weird, off-the-wall, borderline creepy stuff with it? Thanks for answering this, and have a good holiday season. Best regards. He says, P.S. I'm fine and enjoying my November. And he says, I have a lighthearted question that he may ask if he is watching. Parker, ask away. But this really, I mean, we are having an issue in the world with people being able to virtually stalk celebrities and such. And we have seen that for some folks on the spectrum, this can be a misunderstood thing, an obsession, a perseveration with a celebrity. But there is something about AI that I think it makes it harder for everyone not to understand the boundaries that are there. And I'm dying to know what you think about this as well, Dr. Granpeesheh.
It's an interesting time that Parker is asking this question because I was just thinking about it earlier this morning. There's absolutely, Parker, you're totally right that there are lots of opportunities to do wrong things using AI, first of all. The reason I was thinking about it this morning was because there's a new scam where someone will call you and tell you, you know, there's something wrong with your bank account or someone's using your credit card, you know, that kind of thing. And all they're really trying to do is record your voice when you're in dialogue with the individual on the phone. And then they will use this voice, and it's very easy to put voice on an image now using AI and make it seem very much like, oh, this is Doreen. And then I can actually call my bank or some other very secure place and request money transfer. And that's happening now. And it's very unfortunate that people are starting to use AI immediately for bad reasons. Aside from that, another experience that I recently had is that someone who I know who is somewhat of a celebrity was telling me that there's someone who is very much involved with continuously putting stuff online about them. And they've come to realize that, oh, all of this stuff that's posted on social media and also like all their online about this celebrity is being done by someone on the spectrum. And I don't think they have a bad intention. Or maybe, I mean, I think they're just very upset about something this celebrity did publicly, and they are not holding back. Like they're really, really going after this person's reputation online. And that is possibly because, you know, they're just angry and they're expressing themselves in ways that are not necessarily socially appropriate.
Yeah.
So both of those things that you brought up, Parker, are very, very interesting and important, and absolutely are happening. I'm always amazed at how aware you are of things that happen in society. And it's unfortunate that, you know, we've taken such a powerful tool already as AI and we're using it for negative things when we could be using it for positive things.
Yeah. It's interesting because I know several adults that are on the spectrum that their parents have expressed, I want to be careful what I say because I don't want to identify anybody, but there's one person in particular who is so obsessed with one artist that they talk about it constantly, that, you know, if they're at an event, they'll say that the person is coming to the event, that they've written to them, and that they'll be showing up at the event, and people believe them for a second. And somebody recently at a thing said, my God, if they are ever someplace where this artist actually is, what will happen? And that there is a concern about that. If you were dealing with, if you had a patient that was an adult who had a perseveration, what would you be telling the parents to do to sort of mitigate and stay safe? I'm putting you on the spot here.
Yeah, no, not at all. It is, of course, the basis for this is the whole issue of perspective taking.
Yeah.
So I think it's a matter of really working with individuals and teaching them to put themselves in the shoes of others and understanding things like, first, you know, how in the long run, this is kind of like a long-term therapeutically what I would be doing, is really helping the individual understand how the person that they are so infatuated with would feel, how someone stalking you feels like, right? So that's kind of the long term, because I think a lot of our folks, when they understand things like the other person's perspective, they do the right thing.
Yeah.
Now, short term, I think in order for the individual not to get into trouble, I would just write down a set of rules. These things are okay, these things are not okay, and the things that are not okay, will have consequences, and then becoming very clear about what those consequences could be, including but not limited to, interaction with the police, for example.
Yeah.
So making sure that the individual really understands the consequences of what they are doing is very important. And, it really, Shannon, all goes back to not being able to really understand perspective taking.
And I want to say that, just that it's not just folks on the spectrum that struggle with this.
No, absolutely, yes.
We're seeing a lot of lack of perspective taking in the world.
Yeah.
And we all can, maybe with the exception of you, because I think you're really skilled at it, but I think we all can be guilty of it at sometimes, failing to take the perspective or not being aware of the perspective of another person. Right. So I want to get into one of what I consider a grief question. Dr. Doreen, I know my mom loves me. She tells me all the time that I'm her favorite thing ever. But sometimes she says how much she hates autism. It makes me feel like she must hate me because I'm autistic. I wish she didn't say that. What can I say to her so that she knows it makes me feel bad? Makes me want to burst into tears.
Amazing question. And what great awareness to ask something like this.
Yeah.
I mean, I think you just, if you said to your mom exactly what you wrote to us, I think your mom would understand.
Yeah.
I think it is pretty amazing that you are completely aware of what's going on. And I think you just tell your mom, I think the one sentence that you could add to what you wrote for us is that I feel like I am autism. And when you say you hate autism, I feel like you hate me. Just say that to your mom, and I'm sure that your mom will be able to explain that she loves you and she feels like autism maybe has taken things away from you. And that's probably all she's trying to say. It's like saying, I love you, but I hate anxiety, because I see that when you have anxiety, you suffer, you struggle. So, that helps you understand a little bit more what she's saying. But I think it is very important for you to communicate exactly what you wrote to us to your mom. And I think that will give her a level of understanding that perhaps she doesn't have. And then she will be more cautious about the way. No mom wants their child to feel like they're not loved.
Absolutely.
So I'm sure it will help her a lot.
Absolutely. And then there is the flip. Dear Dr. Doreen, my son, and they say their name, was diagnosed 12 years ago. He is 15 now, and although we have done tons of therapy of all kinds, it is clear that he is and will always be one of those kids who is profoundly autistic. I know that I'm supposed to just accept this and love him for who he is, but the grief I feel could fill the Grand Canyon. The guilt I feel over this is even worse, and I don't feel allowed to feel any of the things I feel. I am sure you have dealt with parents in this situation. How do I breathe? How do I go on with life? Big.
Oh, God, that's such a tough thing. Yeah, I'm so sorry that you don't feel like there's a space for you to express your grief. And I think that's probably the number one issue here, because until we actually go through grief and process grief, it lingers. and you've already been suffering with it for 13 years. And that is more than anyone should have to suffer with grief. In fact, I don't know how you've struggled, how you've managed all these years, because it is extremely difficult to experience grief for that long. I think, to be honest, for you being able to go forward, you should probably look at some grief counseling, because grief counseling will help you learn how the stages of grief and allow yourself to go through all of those stages, which some of the stages are very powerful, really, and after we get through, like you've now passed denial, because you're saying, hey, I've agreed that I've come to the conclusion that my child will always have autism and be autistic and pretty severely so. Okay, so you're accepting that. And I think you have to now allow yourself to go through things like anger and express that and be able to process it and get to the end of, okay, I've now felt this, and now I want to take some steps. And so after you do some grief counseling, which helps you get through all of your emotions that have been pent up for so many years, then you should be looking at acceptance commitment therapy, ACT. And this is actually very good for parents because it allows you to take all of your emotions that you feel about the hand that you've been dealt and turn it into a positive thing. It helps you turn all of your energy into a form of something good that you do in the world, which then allows you to feel like, oh, I'm doing something about this. A lot of times, with grief, it becomes so difficult to handle because we feel hopeless and helpless. Like we feel like we can't do anything about it. We just have this pain in our hearts and there's nothing I can do. ACT therapy techniques help you to kind of take that and move it into something functional and useful in the world. And honestly, I'll say that I have seen that over and over with parents. There are parents, well, Shannon, you should be talking about this a little bit more as well, but we have so many parents who took their experience and helped others. And it became a very, very powerful way of dealing with all the emotions that they had in the beginning or now. And being able to put that out into the world and helping others and turn it into something, even if it's just a matter of sharing your experience, even if it's a matter of being part of a group and of other parents who have severely challenging kids. It's just once you share that energy with others, it becomes a much more positive experience, and you realize that you're not alone, and you realize that there are things that you can do to help others, and you realize the strength and the courage that you have had and that you can share with others, which is also very, very meaningful.
Yeah. I want to give a plug to Russ Harris's book, The Reality Slap, which Russ Harris, it's about acceptance commitment therapy, but he's also a parent of a kid on the spectrum. So it's written from that perspective, if people are looking for a book to start. And I will admit that I have been the huge beneficiary of ACT therapies for something different that, and maybe other parents will relate to this, that as my son made progress, I needed to be pulling back and loosening the apron strings, and I couldn't because I had two opposing values, one that I wanted him to be independent and the other that I wanted him to be safe, and they were right up against each other. And ACT helped me to very slowly be able to embrace both things, that I wanted him to be safe and that I wanted him to be independent. And instead of being paralyzed, which was always my go-to and still is if I don't concentrate on it, that it gave me a pathway to say, what can I do to help him to be independent while making sure he's safe? To
Yes.
accept both of those things. It was really life-altering for me. But I know a lot of other parents that have taken great solace in, as you said, ACT and being able to work through grief, which they're entitled to. I do want to take just a second, though, and say that in this past week, I watched basically what felt like a car accident in social media to me. There's a mom that I follow that is such a beautiful writer and has a son that's considered profound, and she writes eloquently and shares their journey together, and she expresses sometimes, the grief of what's happening, and she's so brave, and she gets detractors on a regular basis. Then there's another fabulous young woman that I follow who identifies as being neurodivergent and usually has such positive posts. And she completely, I don't know any other way to say it, went for the jugular of the other mom and said, this is a horrible mom who is, and this is not about her child, and this is about her, and that it's just, and I mean, just, it was a tirade. And it was so ugly. And so many parents jumped in and said, I think you might, be looking at this from a perspective that is uniquely yours, but let us try to tell you. And there was no movement. In fact, she doubled down. And it's not the first time that I've watched this parent who is really trying to do exactly what you have said, which is to let others learn from her experience. And she does it in a very loving way. But it was ugly. It was just ugly. And it kind of, the thing that made me sad about it was that I feel like every once in a while we make strides where I always say here, I want to make sure that we elevate the voices of those that are on the spectrum, of course. But I also want to make sure that there's room for parents to support their kids and to learn from others while they're doing it. And they're entitled to have feelings while they're doing it. We all have to be very mindful and careful that we're not, in any way taking anything away from our children as we do that, because it's a very public forum. But sometimes it just goes, oh gosh, are we ever going to be able to meet in the middle? It's hard.
Yeah.
It's really
it's very hard. And it really all goes back to taking each other's perspective, understanding that people have different perspectives. All of it does, right? And we're not even just talking about the world of autism. In general, you see like over the last, I would say, 5 years or so, there's been so much disagreement politically in the world, right? People are at each other's throats when it comes to their political choices. And I don't remember it ever being that heated, at least not in my lifetime. And I have ideas about why it is where it is. But where it is a lot of like people just not understanding each other's point of view and each other's perspectives. And I think that's a big issue. And Parker brought it up really, really well, because it is a lot more in the autism world, where a person who is neurodivergent has certain opinions and is rigid and not willing to see things from another person's perspective. And this is, one of the things I always do, Shannon, is like, don't comment unless you've walked in that person's shoes. Like, you don't know what their life is. You don't know what they're going through. And be respectful of people just expressing their feelings with regards to what they're going through. And that's a really important thing. I don't know, Shannon, have you seen at all the new show Pluribus that has just come out?
Oh, yes. We've been watching that.
Have you? I've only watched the first couple of episodes, but it's really interesting to me because, and I don't want to ruin it for people who haven't seen it, obviously, but the concept is so fascinating for me, excuse me, because I always say, when you talk about seeing others' perspective has to do with the ability to recognize that we don't share minds, that our minds are separate from each other. Because if your mind is the same with everyone else, then there's no need to share your perspective because everyone understands everyone's perspective. And as I started watching this show, I kept thinking, wow, I wonder if autism was his, what motivated him to write this. It's interesting.
Oh, that's interesting. We've been watching some of the interviews because it's Vince Gilligan who did Better Call Saul and Breaking Bad, and of course I think Vince Gilligan is largely responsible for why my son decided that he wanted to write for television. Because
probably one of the best creators and writers and directors of our time. Amazing.
It's worth watching, you guys. Pluribus, and that's so funny that is not what I took away from it.
Yeah,
so that's fascinating.
I haven't seen all of the episodes, right? But the whole concept has to do with this merging of minds.
Yes.
And I keep looking at things like, why aren't people talking to each other? And then I realize, they all have the same mind. What are they going to share?
Right.
Verbally. So it's very fascinating when I keep thinking back to our world and the world of autism. And
I love knowing that's how you're looking at. We'll have to have a deep dive sometime.
Yeah.
I want to acknowledge that Lucy has written in. We just have loved this viewer, and we were so excited that we got to see her recently at All Ghouls. She said, I have deep gratitude to both of you, Shannon Penrod and Dr. Granpeesheh. It has been an enormous blessing to receive your unwavering support and direction in helping my child. To see my child go from nonverbal to now fully conversational and doing all the steps from your template has filled me with knowing that there's always a way forward. My child is 8 and will be graduating from ABA in a few weeks. That's huge. Our path is not perfect and we still have challenges. At the same time, your guidance has changed the quality of our life and our trajectory. You're going to make me cry.
I know.
This Thanksgiving, I'm incredibly thankful to both of you. You really have changed the lives of many of us. You have selflessly given so much to our community. You have embraced us and filled me with hope. This journey from diagnosis to today has taught me so much, including that this world has angels and amazing hearts like you two. Thank you so much. And I just want to say, this mom and her story, just crazy. That, we have to have her on the show very soon, because if she's willing to tell her story, because it is so inspiring me right now. Because I don't want to tell her story, but it's on Facebook. So I don't know whether she minds. I don't know. Can I say? Because this mom has lost a person of weight, an entire person of weight, which is just so inspirational to me while doing all of this. That's crazy. Anyway, there was another person that had written in and said, I would like to tell Dr. Doreen. She says, I'm open to coming on the show. Let's do it. She says, I would like to tell Dr. Doreen that I am grateful for her. I started watching this show 8 years ago. I don't get to watch it live very often, but I watch as many shows as I can on YouTube. It's like you have a camera in my house. You always know exactly what is going on. I want you to know that my oldest is still getting support, but I got my younger son diagnosed early because of your show, and I got him into intensive therapy because of you. Both of my boys are speaking now, and my younger son no longer qualifies for a diagnosis. I am so grateful for your wisdom and knowledge. Please know that you have made a difference in our lives, and we are grateful.
Oh, thank you, Shannon. I always love hearing those. Thank you so much.
Yeah. That's pretty amazing. Okay, keep the questions writing in, you guys. Dear Dr. Doreen, do you think our kids understand the concept of being grateful? Can it be taught? How would you do that?
That's really interesting. So, not something I had ever thought about, but if you think about it, I'm not sure even neurotypical kids up to a certain age understand the concept of being grateful. I think that gratitude is something we learn, and maybe I'm wrong, but and I'm like personalizing this, but I think gratitude is something we learn after some level of loss. Because until then, we don't know any difference. It's almost like you don't see white unless you've seen black, type thing. I'm not sure that it's a concept that you can teach at a young age. I remember probably the first time that I experienced gratitude as a child was, I must have been, I don't know, maybe 7 or 8 years old, and we were traveling with my family in a very, very poor area of the country of Turkey. And I remember that was probably the first time that I sort of saw slums and people living under those conditions. And I came to realize, like, oh, people don't live the way we live. Like, there is this other thing, and it's horrible. And I became so incredibly grateful for just everything that I had at that moment. And it was by no means, anything elaborate. It was just a normal, we in the U.S., we take so much for granted in our lives, and how our day-to-day lives are just so special, and we take it for granted. But then when you see things like, let's say, how people live in Gaza Strip, or places where, they've grown up with war and chaos and poverty and so on. When you see those dark sides of things, then you come to realize how blessed you are.
Yeah.
And that's gratitude, right? And I don't think children have the capacity yet to see those things. Obviously, we try not to let our children see those things, but obviously young children living in those places, it depends. Like, have they ever seen anything different? Yeah. And I think gratitude comes from a place where you look at what is positive in your own life, and you see either negative things in your own journey or in other people's journeys, and you just say, oh, thank you for the things that I have. Thank you for not putting me through that. And so I don't know that it's something that a child can actually accomplish, a very young child at least.
It's interesting.
What do you think, Shannon?
I'd never thought of it that way before. It's very elucidating to me. And of course it made me think, I do think that my son completely grasps gratitude now. And how did we get there? And I know that there were a couple of things that happened all at the same time. That my mom passed away, and later on that week was when the Newtown shooting happened, and it was right before Christmas, and it was just really a tough week all the way around for my family personally, but for the world, it was a tough week. And the whole next year, we were trying as a family to think, I don't think that Jem understood any of it. I don't think he understood. It was hard to understand that his grandma was.
How old was he?
So he was 10 when grandma passed away. And I don't think he understood it, because, and I always say, when people say, I don't think they understand death, I'm like, do you? I don't.
Yeah.
I don't completely get it. When somebody dies, right. I'm like, if somebody could explain it to me, so why are we thinking that a 10-year-old on the spectrum would get it? So, but anyway, for me, and this is what my mother had always taught me, it's about acts. That what do you do with your feelings? And so when Thanksgiving rolled around the next year, we found, because my son was 11 at that point, there were still things that we could have gone and worked in a soup kitchen, but at 11, that still would have been a little hard for him. Do you know what I mean? But there was an organization called Gobble Gobble Give. They're all over the country now, and they have all these volunteers, and you can volunteer in any one of a bunch of ways. But one of the things that you could do was make food, hot food, and deliver it, and they would plate up plates here in Los Angeles that go out to the homeless. So this is what we decided to do, and I woke him up early on Thanksgiving morning, and what we decided to do was make my mother's favorite dish, which is her scalloped corn. So that year and every year since, my son gets up and we make the scalloped corn and we drive it down and drop it off, and the people take it and they know us now, and they're like, oh, the corn's here. And then on the way back, we would talk about how that was going to fill the bellies of homeless people. And I thought, okay, he gets that. But what was interesting was that he didn't get it until we have featured many times on this show, lovely young man, Romario Snow, who had gone missing for 28 days, and then his mother found him. And then we got to know Romario and his family, and my son has been around Romario and his two little sisters, and his abuelita, and, we got to know the family. And then Romario ran in the LA Marathon and got separated from the person who was running from him. This was a couple of years after he'd gone missing, and he went missing again. Oh. Now, this was personal to us as a family, and so we made flyers, and we went down to the area in Los Angeles where he had last been seen at the end of the marathon. And my son was with us, and he was probably 14 by that point. And we went around to everyone on the pier and handed out flyers. But in the course of doing that, it was nighttime, and we must have talked to 150 homeless people. They were laying on the sides, and so I think it was the first time in my son's life that he knew what a homeless person looked like and talked like. I don't know what he thought beforehand, but he sat and talked with some of these people, and he said, Mom, I don't understand. These people are like us. And I said, I know. And he said, but they're living out here and they're hungry sometimes. And suddenly that making of the corn and giving the corn had a new understanding for him. And he was grateful. The byproduct of that was he was grateful that he had a roof over his head. It had never occurred to him that he could be without a roof over his head. And suddenly he was grateful for the food on his plate because he understood what being, and I don't, homeless is not the right term. We say unhoused now, and I apologize. But you understand this is, it was fascinating to watch the transition of him putting it all together. So on Thursday morning, as a family, we'll be bringing the corn, and knowing that it goes out to the homeless people, because I don't know what else to do other than take action, and I don't know how to teach it other than to take action. But that's how we did it. That was a long story. I don't know if it was worth it.
No, it's a good story. It's a great story. And again, it's about being able to see, it's the two words, sympathy and empathy, right? It's kind of either you experience it yourself and therefore you now have empathy towards others, or you have sympathy when you see things like that. And both of those are what lead to the development of gratitude, I believe.
Yeah. Well, and, having that appreciation about him saying to me, but they're just like us.
Yeah.
Was a huge shift. It felt like when I was a teacher and I would teach Huckleberry Finn, and we would get through this whole big book with the 9th graders, and then we would get to the end when Huckleberry Finn realizes that Jim is just like him.
Yeah.
Huge, huge message of like, oh my goodness, this whole time I've been looking at you as different from me, but we aren't. There, but for the grace of God go I phrase, that I was so proud of him that he got it.
Yeah, totally. And it's funny that the way you say that, it also goes back to, the whole pluribus thing. And like,
interesting. We
are just like each other in so many ways. And that's why I like the idea of this series now, because I think it's so timely for so many of us to see how we are really similar in so many ways. And all we really look at or talk about are the differences as opposed to the similarities.
It's a powerful, powerful thing. So we have a lot going on in the world. There's certainly a lot going on in the autism community, and I'm happy to take questions, you guys. But since we have a couple of minutes and there's no question currently, Dr. Granpeesheh, would love to know. There's been some recent chatter. There was the New York Times podcast. They were talking about the possibility that a DSM-6 may be coming out soon. I don't know about that, but I would love to know for you what personally and professionally, what are you grateful for this year? And maybe if we have time, if there were a DSM, thank you. A DSM-6 coming out, what would you want to be different than the DSM-5? That's a loaded question.
No, it's actually funny because this subject of the DSM, and not because of the article, but it just came, the whole concept. Somebody wrote in to me recently, a friend of a friend, and said, "Do you know Kathy Lord?" And of course, I know Kathy Lord, who is the person who developed the ADOS, Autism Diagnostic Observation Schedule, which is the gold standard test for diagnosing autism. And we got around to talking about the diagnosis of autism, and apparently in an interview, Kathy had said something that I completely agree with, but I see two sides to. And she had said something like she regrets, I think she must have been involved with the Diagnostic Manual 5, and she was saying something like she regrets now that Asperger's was taken away as a diagnosis and that it was all kind of like brought in within the spectrum of autism. And I felt the same, in the sense that I felt like, oh, what are we doing now? We're reducing the differentiation, and this spectrum has always had a problem with the reduction of there's such a huge variation between, as you said, individuals who are severely challenged and individuals who are very minimally challenged. And now, since DSM-5, of course, they all receive the same diagnosis, which is just ASD. Yes, there are severity levels. A lot of people don't know how to do the severity levels correctly in diagnosis as well. So that a lot gets lost in translation. But still, I kind of feel like if there is a new DSM, I think it would be important to have that differentiation, because there's so many problems that have come out of this, individuals who are very minimally affected being classified as the same as individuals who are very severely affected. Yeah. And the one thing I think that is the most important there is that those individuals who in the past would have potentially had a diagnosis of Asperger's, a lot of public figures who come out and say, I think I have autism, what they really have is Asperger's, which is a little bit different than just pure form of autism. And the reason I say that is that those individuals are very vocal, and they have a voice, and they talk a lot about what is right and not right for them. And what is right and not right for them is not necessarily right or not right for those who are very severely challenged. And that is really important, as you know, Shannon, an individual saying, hey, I don't want to be changed. And then there's obvious, which is their right, absolutely, as long as they're doing fine in society and not breaking any of the rules of society and thriving, which is completely possible for an individual who would have in the past had a diagnosis of Asperger's. And now there's the severely challenging part of autism, which is not only extremely difficult and alienating, and anxiety provoking and depression provoking for those individuals who have severe autism, but also for their families. And to say that, I don't think we need any kind of therapy doesn't apply to those individuals. So I feel like going back to the ability to subdivide and say, okay, there's a difference not just the symptoms, but in everything that follows. And kind of starting to subdivide the spectrum a little bit, I think is beneficial. Now, the other side of that is that this, one of the benefits that came when the diagnosis of autism was broadened and it used to be autistic disorder, right? And as opposed to Asperger's disorder. And now that it has become autism spectrum disorder, it encompasses the whole spectrum. One of the benefits was that even those folks who had Asperger's, or what we used to call PDD-NOS, or pervasive developmental disorder not otherwise specified, which is like some symptoms of autism, but not all. All of those folks started to receive coverage from health insurance for their needs. And before, not just health insurance, health insurance didn't exist, but state funding, they could not access state funding and health insurance. You had to have a pure diagnosis of autistic disorder. And so when the spectrum came around as a diagnostic category, all of those people were folded in and therefore could access health insurance.
Yeah.
So I think if we go back to dividing, now that's not necessarily a big issue because we have mental health parity. And so anything that is classified as a mental health disorder should have some health insurance coverage. And hopefully that will help. Overall, it'll help because, payers, also health insurance companies, are completely overtaxed right now because they are providing the same level of treatment sometimes for individuals who need much less. And because they have to share that money, the individuals who need much more are not getting what they need.
Yeah.
So I think that's kind of how I feel about if there is a new DSM coming out.
That's a very interesting way of looking at things. I have to, because I've been playing with this, I have to share this. I know this is like a non sequitur, but our toy guide came out last week, and I hope you guys are checking out some of the fabulous toys that we have in the toy guide, because we try really hard to make sure that there's something for everyone in the toy guide, including for the caregivers. And we have 22 different categories now, including this year a category that's an Ask Dr. Doreen favorite and a Shannon's favorite. Now, this particular toy that I have here, it comes like this. It looks like a little pill. And this one is a rainbow one. It's called a Morph. And it's from a company called Human Go. I don't know whether it's Humongo or Human Go, but I think it's Human Go. Anyway, it's called a Morph, and they come in different shapes and different colors, but this is a rainbow worm is what it's called. And it expands and it does all kinds of crazy things. And you can have hours of fun bending and playing with it. This got the award in the caregiver category for sensory fun because I think it's great for parents. It's a great stress reliever. And to keep one of these in your backpack or your purse when you're in the carpool lane and picking up your kids, but then when the kid gets in the car, then you hand it to them. And they will have a ball with it. It also, I don't know if you can tell in this light, but it has a sheen to it. So
you can. You can see the shine. It's very pretty. I like it.
So
I need one of those.
Well, I'm sending one to you. And when you turn it different ways, it's got that thing like what Temple Grandin said, the reason why she liked to spin the plate on her bed, because there's a million different ways you can go slower, go fast, and it will make different light shapes. You can look at it's just a really cool toy. I love a good sensory toy, and so this is called the Morph Worm. I sent, because you weren't here today, I'm sending some fresh herbs from my garden home to you in case you need them for your turkey. You. And we're sending a Morph for you as well.
That's awesome.
So
yes,
you guys
please
will all
do. I have children of friends coming over for Thanksgiving, so I'm sure I will enjoy it. Thank you.
Maybe I need to send you a board game too.
Ooh, that'd be good. They're very young children.
Oh.
Very young.
All right. Maybe I'll have to look and see what from the toy guide I need to send you for them to demo for you. I'll take a look. But you have your older kids as well.
Yes, my kids are coming home, and I'm very grateful. You said, what are the things that you feel grateful for this Thanksgiving? One of the things we do at Thanksgiving, which I know people feel like it's a little weird, but I force everyone when we're sitting at the dinner table to go through and talk about what they're grateful for the year. And I will say I am probably the most grateful always for my kids and my husband, obviously, and my friends such as yourself, and having these all of the incredible people in my life who are just so supportive and loving and produce such an incredible energy around me. That's like my biggest gratitude. And then, of course, for things like my mom still being around at 95, which is amazing, and health, which I am sometimes craving more than I have, just Shannon, I am so grateful every day for just peace and where we live and the fact that we have the ability to make choices. There's just so much to be grateful for. I'm so grateful for my colleagues at CARD who work so incredibly hard and I know that sometimes they're doing that just to please me. So I just really, really appreciate everything that is around me, and very, very grateful for all the blessings that have come every year of my life.
Well, I appreciate that, and I want you to know from all of us, we're grateful for you.
Thank you so much, Anna.
And that's the truth. And I know, we had several people write in about that, and more that expressed that throughout the year, and that will express that in podcasts. Feel free to write in when you guys are listening later on. But we are, and I want our viewers and listeners to know that we are grateful for them. That this journey would have been you and I sitting in a room by ourselves talking, which I would have enjoyed, but not as much. From the beginning, when you and I started doing this so long ago, 15 years ago, when people tuned in and started asking questions, we both lit up like Christmas trees, because that's when it was more fun. And that interactivity has always been the
best part of the show.
Yeah. It's the reason for everything. Okay, we've got time for one last question, and I think it's the most important question of the day. What is your signature side dish for Thanksgiving? What do you make that no one else makes?
I actually do the whole thing, right? So I cook everything. And it's a whole day. This year, I'm so far behind, I haven't even gone shopping for anything yet, but I need to be brave and hit Costco sooner or later. But I guess I do all of it. I do the stuffing and the mashed potatoes and the yams. My son loves yams with marshmallow and caramel, so I have to do multiple types of yams. And lots of different types of sides. My husband this year is contributing and making scalloped potatoes, which he's very, very good at. So that's going to be lovely. And then I have friends coming over, and they usually bring various types of vegetables as well. So it's going to be a fun, big dinner. What about you? Do you have a favorite side?
Well, I think, I've made it for the office before. I like to make the roasted butternut squash with beets and Brussels sprouts. And depending on who is there, maybe adding feta cheese to that, maybe walnuts. But a lot of times we have people that are lactose intolerant or can't do nuts. So, and all the herbs in that as well. To me, it's all about the turkey, which I don't eat, and the vegetables. And for me, I don't do mashed potatoes anymore. My blood sugar can't handle it. But I make a mean cauliflower, parsnip, and white bean thing that is just like mashed potatoes, but it tastes better. Sorry, I will never go back. Anyway,
I hope you have a wonderful Thanksgiving with the family.
I hope that you do too, and I'm going to send a couple of things home with the herbs. For you. I think Sarah's going to bring them to you today or tomorrow.
Thank you.
So, and a couple of games so that you guys can have some fun playing some stuff.
Thank you so much.
All right. Well, we got like a minute and a half. We're never pushing for time. Last thought. Anything you want to share with anybody?
No, I'm just grateful to our viewers and would love to have more participation in the coming year. I feel like the same as you said, but I love that we still have a lot of viewers, and even if they're watching the show afterwards, I appreciate that. I always wonder if how long we should keep this going and whether it has value to people, and I think that we regularly hear from our viewers that it does give them value, which I'm very, very grateful for as well.
Yes.
And if our viewers would like us to talk about specific subjects, always happy to entertain that idea as well.
Absolutely. We would love to do that. So write in, you guys, even in podcasts, let us know what you want, because we do enjoy it. And if you have a comment that you want to send to me, you can always send it to me and I'll share it with Dr. Granpeesheh. You can write to me at Shannon@autism-live.com. That's Shannon, SHANNON, at autism, which we all know how to spell, -live.com. And Chris put it on the screen because Chris is like that. And thank goodness for Chris. Okay, we're officially out of time now. Dr. Granpeesheh, good luck with the cooking. And we will be back here next week. So make sure that you guys are here next week. Until then, happy Thanksgiving to everybody. I'm sending a hug for you guys and one for your kiddos too. Bye-bye for now.
Bye, Shannon. Bye, everyone.
Bye. Don't forget, you can watch Ask Dr. Doreen live every Tuesday morning at 10 a.m. Pacific time. We hope to see you there.